I'm Mark Beelan from SearchLab, and this is Suds Search. I'm at Old Irving Brewing with a good friend, David J.P. Fisher, or as he's known to me, DFish.
Yeah.
DFish is a sales coach, a speaker, an author of 2 books, Hyperconnected Selling and Networking in the 21st Century. He also has a podcast with a very similar flavor to the one you're on today.
Absolutely.
Great minds think alike. I think this is a great topic today. What we're going to talk about is selling.
Cool.
Your sort of passion. So
for sure.
I wanted to ask you this. I interact with a lot of agency owners, not just SEOs, but across the board. And when we're in private, we're always talking about selling and how we could sell more work or how we could get more clients. We're also producing content all the time. Our content is never about selling.
Right.
It's always about what we do. And I was wondering if you could help fill a gap here.
Okay,
that I
let's
see.
do it.
How can we get more SEO clients for SearchLab, and what things can agency owners do to get more clients for their business?
Well, how many days do we have to do, right? So I think what has happened for a lot of companies, a lot of small businesses, especially marketing-oriented businesses, is that you drink the Kool-Aid. Marketing is where it's at. Marketing is important. Creating content is going to be how we're going to drive leads, drive business. All of those things are true. But where selling really comes in is it's that last mile problem, meaning you can have marketing get a lot of great leads into your funnel or into your pipeline, your CRM, but until you can actually engage with that prospective client and make them become a client, you're in trouble. And that's why I think a lot of businesses really struggle, because they focus on the front end that, hey, we're going to market, we're going to create good content, we're passionate about what we do, whether it's search engine optimization or any service. But in becoming passionate about that, in drinking the Kool-Aid, we forget, hey, we still have to go out and actually engage with that prospect, show how we can help solve a problem, and then ask them for the business, get them to sign on the dotted line. And I think that there's a host of reasons why selling can be challenging, but it's really easy for people to kind of keep putting that on the back burner and go, well, hey, if we just create more content, if we just have better copy on our website, then that'll take care of everything. But sometimes you got to focus in on the actual selling.
Yeah, in preparation for this interview, I started to look up different pieces about how to get more SEO clients, to find out if there was anything about selling these services.
Right.
Usually what it would be is like, do more SEO, do more marketing. The most common thing I would hear about, if it was even kind of about selling, would be do more networking.
Right. Right.
Do you think there is a stigma about salespeople?
100%. Yeah. Let's not even beat around the bush.
And what's that all about?
Well, for a lot of people, sales is still a 4-letter word, right? And I think that comes from this idea of selling being something that is pushy, that's aggressive. We all have the image in our mind of a salesperson we've interacted with, who we didn't like, who wouldn't take no, who was skeevy, smarmy, icky. And human beings don't want to, they don't want to act in a way that is, let's say, not congruent with who they want to be as a person, which is a very fancy psychological way of saying, I don't want to be sketchy, so I was exposed to a sketchy person, so I'm not going to act like that at all ever. But I think that does a disservice, because even though, yes, there are horrible salespeople out there, and there are pushy and obnoxious salespeople out there, when you really get down to it, the good salespeople are fantastic, because what you're really doing is trying to help somebody uncover a challenge, help them understand that challenge, and then show how you can help them solve it. One of the things I always say, if you're doing selling right, you're not selling to someone, you're selling for someone. And so I think it's very understandable why people have this stigma to selling and to being a salesperson. But if you want to be successful, there's absolutely nothing wrong with having confidence in your ability to help somebody and then share it with them. If a doctor came in and had the cure for a disease I have, I want him to sell me,
Right?
right? I'd be like, yes,
Yeah.
help me out. And I think that more small business owners, more agency owners have to be able to embrace the fact that, yeah, if I am confident in what I do and how I help my clients, there's nothing wrong with saying, hey, I'd like to work with you. Hey, can I have 10 minutes to tell you how we can maybe solve your problem, and let's work together.
Now, I mentioned that this is a pain point for some of our mutual friends. You're friends with a lot of the marketers in our community.
Right.
Here. You mentioned some of the things that salespeople do wrong. I would imagine that might be different than what some of the things that marketers are doing trying to sell wrong. What are some common problems you find that agency owners, marketers are doing that's common problems? And this might also be, how much time do we have?
Yeah, right. Well, here's a very simple thing that actually applies both to salespeople and to marketers. And it's actually a very human challenge. We see the world through our lens. We see the world through the perspective that we have on it. One of the biggest challenges then for us as salespeople, and definitely as marketers, is to be able to go and sit on the other side of the table, right? And so that's why you'll see, for example, in marketing, you might have a service that's amazing, and you're super excited about it, you're super passionate about it. So whenever you talk about it, all you do is talk about how cool it is.
Yes.
Nobody cares about your solution. What they care about is how your solution helps them solve their problem. So it's, again, a very human challenge, but the more you can get out of your own mind and really see things from the other person's point of view, from your prospect's point of view, from your customer's point of view, that's how you then start driving sales. Because instead of saying, I heard a rhetoric professor say this once, and rhetoric is the study of influence for nerds. But he goes, good rhetoric isn't what you want to say. Good rhetoric is what they need to hear.
Yeah.
And so, again, from a marketing or sales point of view, when you can start thinking about what they need to hear from you, everything changes, right? And you become much more impactful and get a lot more business.
No, that makes perfect sense. So we mentioned networking and some other things. What are some other activities a marketer could do to drive sales? I think of this term, outbound sales.
Right.
What does this mean, and what are some activities that we could be doing?
Sure. I think the first place to start, so now you mentioned networking. I'm passionate about it. And by the way, I do have to say, I actually have written 9 books, not just 2.
I'm sorry. I'll have to clean up my intro after this. Yeah.
No, it's all good. But in the networking books, I mean, all you're really doing with networking is looking for prospects and opportunities. You can have a lot of different ways to bring prospects into your, we call in sales the pipeline, right? So it could be networking, it could be speaking at conferences, it could be SEO, bringing people to your landing page, whatever it is. What I will often suggest to clients is then to look at that first part of the process and put it aside for a moment and go, after I start talking to somebody, what happens? So for example, a very easy question, an easy question with a hard answer is, do you have a process, right? Do you have I call it a sales playbook, right? Doesn't mean it has to be scripted and exact and robotic. We don't want to do that. But do you know, hey, these are the questions I ask to see if they're qualified. These are the ways that I position us as a solution. And if that happens, this is how we do a proposal. This is how we position our pricing. This is how we ask for the business. I mean, one of the things that I've done my entire career, I continue to do this. If I'm working with a salesperson, I go, what's the question you ask? What's your closing question? How are you going to, at the end, say, hey, are we going to do business together, right? It could be, and one of my favorites is, based on everything I see here, what we've been talking about it, I think it makes sense for us to go forward. Does it make sense to you?
It's a great
right.
line.
Sure. And there's a lot of them. It's just pick one and know it.
I think that's my shortcoming. I would say totally. Like, I will just talk to you and talk to you and talk to you without, because I like the consulting. I like to do that. And I never get to the actual close. What's the key to being a good closer? You got a great pitch there. What's the key to being a good sales closer?
In short, speak in terms of the customer's best interest. which may sound counterintuitive, but if I know that I'm there selling for you, I know that I'm not going to try to close you if it's not a good scenario, but I know that I can with confidence if it is. Yeah. So I think knowing what you want to say, having some preparation is key, but then knowing, for example, if you like to keep talking, I had a mentor once who always used to say, why say blah, blah, blah when blah is enough?
Yes.
Right?
That's a great, I should have heard that.
Yeah. So even just knowing, hey, once I feel that I have made my case, what is my question? You know, again, it could be the one we went over before. It could be as simple as saying, hey, based on our conversation, if we can do X, would you want to work with us? Or if, you define better marketing results as Y, and we can do that, should we do this? Yeah. Just having some way of going, let's go forward. I mean, to use a dating analogy, if you just met somebody interesting at the bar or at a party and all you're doing was talking all night, at some point you have to ask that person, hey, can I have your phone number? Would you like to have a date sometime? Or if not, you're just chatting.
Yeah. If you are, let's say somebody listening to this says, I don't want to do this selling. I know I have to do a portion of it. Mm-hmm. I'm looking to hire a sales leader. What sort of qualities do you look for in a leader of an organization? Would be sort of your sales manager or your director of business development?
Yeah. So this is a really common thing that I talk to, whether it's an agency owner or just anybody who owns a small business. If they don't like the sales portion because they've been unsuccessful with it, let's just outsource it. Let me have somebody else do it because they're going to fix everything. And 99% of the time, it just creates more problems. The first thing I always say is you have to be able to sell because nobody will sell better than the owner. Nobody will be as passionate or care as much about the success of the organization. And nobody will have the same belief in the product that the founder, the president, the CEO, whoever's in charge has. The second thing I tell people is you have to have a sales program that you can have somebody else run. A salesperson does not create a sales process. They don't write a sales playbook.
It's amazing. Salespeople are unbelievably not good at process. Without undefeated streak of me meeting with
well, in the same way, you wouldn't hire, if you were a football coach, you wouldn't hire a quarterback and then say, hey, will you come up with the plays?
Sure.
Right? Yeah. You hire a quarterback and say, here's the book, learn these plays, I know they work, and I need somebody to execute on them. And so I think the owner and the people who are there already have to develop that playbook, the materials, the process. I've seen agency owners hire salespeople and go, hey, figure out the packages you're going to sell. And the salespeople just flounder. Yeah. So this is a very unsexy answer, but I think it's one that needs to be told over and over again. You have to do the work up front. Now, if you do that, if you put the effort and say, hey, we've got the process, we did the blocking and tackling, apparently we're going to use football analogies a lot. Then I can go find a good salesperson. Because then how do you find a good person? Well, it's, again, how many hours do we have to say it? But at least at that point you're saying, here's what we're doing. Here's the process. Can you do this? I'm not just going, hey, you seem like you're smart and you might know a lot of people in this industry, so I'll hire you. It's, here's the process. Again, like saying to a quarterback, here's the offenses we run. Can you do this well? Right. You can? Great. You've proven you can? Go for it. Right.
If we're going to do football, I'm up for the challenge.
I think you're going to beat me on this one.
If you don't do what he says, it's just a Hail Mary pass. That's all it is. So you're not a marketer, but you did this experiment that I'm very interested in. 30 days, a video every day.
Yeah.
Tell us about it. Why'd you do it, and how did it work out?
As I tell people, I'm not a marketer, but I play one on TV. Okay. And the reality is, if you're a small business owner, you are a marketer, right? And I came from a sales background, so I've had to kind of learn the marketing side. But it's the same way where I look at somebody who's running a marketing business and comes from the marketing side, I'm like, you're a salesperson, right? Yeah. You can't just abdicate responsibility for that part of the business. So I know that I have to, bring in interest and get the word out. So yeah, I had been looking at native video on LinkedIn, and there were some people that were doing it well, some people who weren't, but there wasn't a lot of evidence about what actually happened when you used native video on LinkedIn. So even for being a salesperson, I like process, I like data. So I was like, I'm going to do a LinkedIn video a day I think it was in the month of March or something. And yeah, I did 30 or 31. And it was fun. It was fascinating to see what worked, what didn't. The question I was trying to answer, is it worth it for someone who's not like an influencer with 40,000 followers? Is it worth the time and energy for somebody like that with maybe a few thousand connections to do it? And especially in the sales world, I always talk about kind of building brand for yourself, for your personal brand. And it was really fun. And I found out, yeah, it was totally worth it. I think we got probably about 30,000 views on those, and some were really good, and some were really not. And you could not have guessed which ones were going to perform well and which ones weren't. The best videos got some of the least views, and vice versa. But it also let me know that, hey, sometimes you just have to keep putting it out there. You just, in the same way when you sell, you're not going to get every sale, right? And that's okay. Like if you got every sale, you're actually doing it wrong.
Right.
So you have to be okay with, we'll mix up the metaphors here. You got to be okay with taking a lot of swings, right? Even the best baseball players, 300 batting averages, 3 out of 10.
Yeah.
And so the same with sales and same thing with marketing. So you just got to keep experimenting, trying, seeing what works.
I certainly agree with that. I want to encourage people to follow David on LinkedIn. How else can they connect with you? If you want to hear about his sales coaching or anything else that you have going on, what's the best way to reach you?
Best way, LinkedIn is good. LinkedIn.com/in/IAM DFish, IAM DFISH. Or davidjpfisher.com. That's my home on the web. So that's a place where I have all my articles. I do a lot of writing there. All of the books are on Amazon. And if you're a podcast fan, beer, beats, and business. We have a lot of fun drinking some good beer and have some interesting conversations.
Yeah, some of my favorite people in Chicago are on that. All right, I think the people from Old Irving Brewing have something set up. Let's go talk to them about their beers, and I'll see you over there. We're back at Old Irving Brewing. We're talking to Trevor.
Hello.
Owner and head brewer here. I understand we have a special beer that we're going to be drinking.
Yeah, I thought since we're chatting today, I'd bust out something that we just bottled last week. It's called Krampus Cookies. Is the base beer here. All of our Krampus Cookies Imperial Stout gets aged in Heaven Hill barrels this year for about 11 months. On this one, we did maple syrup and coffee from Dark Matter Coffee. Wanted to see how it's coming along in bottle. We're about to release it here on November 26th on Tuesday before Thanksgiving. And so I thought, yeah, we should try it. So while we chat, I'm probably going to pour some. We're going to drink some and all that good stuff. Okay?
Perfect.
Right,
Cool.
So tell us a little bit about the beers you're known for. I understand you've won an award here recently.
Yeah.
Tell us a little bit about how you brew and more about the brewery.
Sure, absolutely. So we've been open for about 3 years now. We kind of started off as kind of like your standard brew pub, trying to make sure we had plenty of variety of beers and everything like that. More recently, we've been focusing on hazy IPAs and kind of more like in vogue styles, as well as kind of a few styles that maybe where we paddle our own canoe a little bit and try to be a little bit more adventurous and fun.
Yeah. So how did you guys decide to take over 3 years ago and start a brew pub?
So my business partner and I, Jeff Lindemeyer, we were introduced by a chef friend of mine, and we were all going to kind of open the restaurant together. And so we kind of had this brainchild a long time ago. Me and this chef actually had this idea many moons ago when there was like no brew pubs in the city. Mm-hmm. I really wanted to open a brew pub, and I saw there was a huge market for it in Chicago. We knew food, we knew front of the house. The only missing part really was the beer, which I was a home brewer. And I enjoyed thoroughly, but I definitely didn't have as much technical experience in breweries. So I ended up going out, working for a ton of other breweries in the city and beyond. So Pipeworks was nice enough to open their door. When Drew from 18th Street was brewing out of there, he really kind of helped me out and guided me while at Pipeworks. We also had Flossmoor Station, where I did an apprenticeship with 3 guys that now work at Goose Island in like really lead positions. Mm-hmm. And then Dry Hop had done like a bunch of like collaborations with me. finally, I need to get out of the country. I ended up going to Scotland and brewing with Brewdog for about 3 months. They were nice enough to let me do an apprenticeship. And I met those guys through another TV show called Brewdogs. So that was kind of the crossover through there.
It's cool how, I don't know if family-like is the right word, but I've always been impressed how the brewing world is very much about helping each other out. And it's not like, oh no, I got to keep you out. It's like, yeah, you want to learn how to brew? Yeah. Come hang out.
You know, and I think the sense of community, especially in Chicago, is special. We're pretty young. So I think that we're a little bit more, all of us are trying to figure it out, right? So we're really leaning on one another to make the magic happen. I've got some friends in this industry that we're really close with, and not everyone has that. You know, our guild has been told multiple times that we have one of the tightest knit communities out of any major brewing population.
That's how we do it in Chicago.
That's how we do it in Chicago. Yeah, it's brotherly love. But I really, in the last couple of years, have been like really dedicated to this one beer. Originally called Trendy with an I, because I was going to make it hazy. I was going to be kind of a jerk about it, right? Be a little audacky. But eventually it became kind of an obsession, and I really wanted to make this beer great. So we decided to give it a real name, move it into the market, and then start selling it. So I've been kind of tweaking this recipe for 2 years. Entered it into the Great American Beer Festival out in Denver this year in 2019. Not expecting anything. Sitting in the back of the room with my guys, just trying to show them a good time for working so hard for us here at the pub. We just entered distribution with Gluns, so we were like, all right, let's see what happens. And then we won, and I don't really know what happened. I kind of blacked out, and when I came to, my hand was bleeding, and I was up and screaming, and it was really cool. So now mostly we brew Beezer here a lot, but we also get a little bit of time to do cool stuff like this. So if you guys want to take a little bit of that. Yeah, so this one we've been making since our first year. I wanted to make kind of a holiday style that was maybe a little bit edgier, a little bit cooler, where I could put something a little gnarlier on the label. So Krampus was kind of like a cool character to me, and especially it has roots in Germany, which has roots in brewing. So I really wanted to bring that to the forefront. We hit it with lactose. It's got, the base has cocoa nibs and Madagascar vanilla beans in it, and then you get the maple and the coffee on top of that as an additional bonus. So cheers.
Cheers. Thanks for having us.
Cheers.